On Africa 24 English, the African Union Journal is presented to you by Afreximbank.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this edition of the African Union Journal on Africa 24 English, an edition dedicated to the integration of the African continent by airways. African civil aviation plays an increasingly crucial role in the continent's economic integration and regional connectivity. By facilitating movements and trade, it contributes significantly to economic growth and regional cohesion in Africa. Learn more in this report.
The African Union is working to implement the Single African Air Transport Market project, with the aim of boosting an air transport industry that is currently underdeveloped with poor connectivity. The project aims to make civil aviation an essential lever for economic integration and regional connectivity in Africa. To this end, the continent is striving to boost its contribution to global air traffic, which accounts for just 2% of one of the world's largest continents.
Air transport is the single largest enabler of economic development in all countries in the world. In Africa, it is only 2% of global traffic from the largest continent in the world. So that is a major challenge.
Consolidating intra-African connectivity is one of the priorities of the air transport sector in Africa in 2024. According to the Association of African Airlines, the aim is to increase intra-African air connectivity. In 2023, passenger traffic carried by the continent's various carriers reached 85 million, or 89% of its pre-health crisis level. The African situation is not unique. Air traffic has returned to its post-COVID levels just about everywhere in the world. But what will be even more important for Africa is to see much stronger growth. When you look at the percentage of traffic in Africa, it's very low compared with the rest of the world. So this is an opportunity for us to go much further. The Africa-Indian Ocean region is the area with the greatest shortage of qualified personnel in all areas of civil aviation. According to experts in the field, the African continent cannot meet the growing need for mobility and regional integration without building capacity in civil aviation and improving the skills of its workforce. In civil aviation, there are three areas. There is the equipment side, the procedure side, which is an extremely regulated area. But above all, there is the human resources side. If we have machines and procedures to use these machines, if we don't have qualified people, we won't have a service. So human resources are a major pillar of the civil aviation business at local, regional and international level.
Des métiers de l'aviation civile, aussi bien locale, régionale qu'internationale.
In Africa, the region recorded a marginal profit of $0.1 billion in air transport in 2023, according to the IATA report. However, 2024 presents significant challenges as the continent faces high operational costs and a low propensity to spend on air travel, hampered by poor infrastructure and connectivity. These factors could limit the expansion and performance of the African airline industry.
With the launch of the Single African Air Transport Market on January 28, 2018, the African aviation industry has reached a historic milestone. According to the African Continental Free Trade Area, AfCFTA, air transport is an important stake in trade for Africa's regional integration and the continent's economic development in general. Pauline Minka gives us more details.
Air transport is of great importance for trade across AFCFTA, for regional integration and for the structural transformation of African economies. According to data from the Economic Commission for Africa, the continent's air transport network comprises a total of 14,000 air routes. Implementing the FTTA will double the number of tons of goods transported by air to 2.3 to 4.5 million and boost connectivity between the various states.
African Continental Free Trade Agreement creates the business for airlines to fly to several areas. Even if an airline gets a traffic right, it doesn't mean that it will fly everywhere.
The Single African Air Transport Market was designated as a flagship project of the African Union's Agenda 2063 by the Assembly of Heads of States and Government at the 24th Ordinary Session held in January 2015 in Addis Ababa, and is a key element in boosting Africa's development.
Now, if we're going to unlock Africa's economic potential on trade,
si nous voulons débloquer le potentiel économique de l'Afrique en matière de commerce et de voyage, je pense que nous devons accélérer la mise en place de la ZLECAF afin d'accélérer la connectivité.
it's all connected.
According to some experts, there are several aspects of stimulating the continent's development through the aviation sector. These include the creation of a harmonized regulatory framework and a business environment conducive to private sector development. The experts are also calling on political decision makers and international organizations to work together to build an efficient and sustainable aviation industry in Africa.
I think we have started the discussion through the LAB initiative. There are so many good ideas and projects that are coming out, but what we need to focus on is execution, implementation.
As a reminder, the objective of the AFCFTA is to create a single continental market for goods and services, with free movement of people and investment opportunities, while improving competitiveness and supporting economic transformation.
Africa is experiencing significant internal and international migratory movements, with an estimated 40 million migrant workers across the continent. Against a backdrop of persistent economic inequality and conflict, migration, both internal and international, is on the increase, representing both a challenge and an opportunity for the continent's economic development. However, the implementation of migration policies remains a challenge due to the weakness of institutions and governance in certain regions. Cases of discrimination, exploitation, and human rights violations also affect migrants, underlining the urgent need for a more integrated and inclusive approach. A report by Sarah Yemele.
African migrations continues to grow, extending a 20-year trend. Limited economic opportunities, conflict, repressive government, increasing number of young people, and climate change are the main factors behind an estimated 169 million migrant workers worldwide, 43 million of whom are African migrants, according to data from the African Center for Strategic Studies in January 2024. To cope with the increase in migratory flows, the International Labour Organization and several African countries have implemented migration policies. These policies aim to regulate labour mobility, promote employment, and protect the rights of migrants.
Too many of the
169 million workers in the world today, many are unable to exercise their fundamental rights. This makes them invisible, vulnerable, and undervalued in terms of their contribution to society. The vulnerability of migrant workers to all kinds of discrimination is exacerbated when other factors come into play, such as race, ethnic origin, and gender. At the regional level, organizations such as the African Union and the Regional Economic Community are working to harmonize bilateral and multilateral efforts to strengthen cooperation on labor migration. These efforts are aimed at promoting regular labor migration, enforcing labor standards, and reducing the use of irregular migration in line with the AU's Agenda 2063. Irregular migration is also an instrument dedicated to the implementation of the fifth key priority area of the AU Declaration and Plan of Action on Poverty Reduction in Employment and Inclusive Development. Joint labor migration is a strategy that focuses on the governance of intra-African labor migration and support the achievement of the EU Agenda 2063, but also the 2030 Agenda. However, the implementation of migration policies remains a challenge due to weak institutions and governance in some regions. Cases of discrimination, exploitation, and human rights violation also affect migrants, underlining the urgent need for a more integrated and inclusive approach.
Migration are vulnerable.
Migrant workers are exposed to human rights violations. Their status forces them to live in precarious situations and face additional challenges such as gender-based violence. Migrant workers contribute to the development of most nations, filling markets and meeting essential skills needs. Legal protection for migrant workers is therefore necessary to overcome precariousness, vulnerability, and many abusive practices of employers.
Fill gaps in labor markets.
According to data from the African Center for Strategic Studies, the majority of these, mostly young African migrants, remain on the continent in search of jobs opportunity in urban centers. Others seek employment outside the continent, mainly in the Middle East and Europe, although Africans represent only 6.6% and 8.2% respectively of all migrants in these regions.
Let's now take a look at the news in our regions, which we start with the launch of the East African Community Currency, postponed to 2031. Then improved access to drinking water in the Maghreb with the completion of a seawater desalination plant. Finally, the announcement by AES of a project for certified digital platforms.
AEC member states in November 2013 signed the protocol on the establishment of the East African Community Monetary Union. The East African Community Monetary Union laid the foundation for a monetary union within 10 years and enabled AEC partner states to gradually converge their currencies to a single currency within the community. On August 22, 2024, in Arusha, Tanzania, the process of creating a single currency was postponed and a new target was set for 2031, according to AEC Secretary General Veronica Mweni Nduva. However, the development of legal instruments to set up institutions to support the monetary union and the establishment of the East African payment system illustrates some of the achievements toward the goal of a single currency in the AEC zone. Faced with the challenges imposed by global warming and the shortage of drinking water resources, the nations of the Maghreb region have launched a number of projects to further stem these challenges in the future. Among these projects is the seawater desalination plan due for completion in September 2024 in Algeria's Cap Blanc, Walaya of Oran, with a production capacity of 300,000 cubic meters of drinking water per day, an essential project for Algeria and the Sonatrach Group, which is seeking to ensure the country's independence in terms of drinking water and create hundreds of jobs. In West Africa, the Alliance of Sahel States has set up certified digital platforms. These will enhance the credibility of the AES on the international stage and enable the states of the Alliance of Sahel States to disseminate reliable and instantaneous information. This was one of the measures adopted at the workshop to draw up and validate the Sahel Alliance of States communication strategy on August 22, 2024. It also marks a crucial step in strengthening the AES institutional communication and public diplomacy at a time when the Sahel-Saharan region is facing unprecedented security challenges.
Mauritania, at the heart of West African migration routes, is seeking to strengthen a circular migration partnership with the Kingdom of Spain. Spain has recorded a 66% increase in migrant arrivals since January 2024, mainly as a result of illegal immigration. During his visit to Mauritania, Gambia, and Senegal, the Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez signed memorandums for a framework for regular entry into Spain according to labor needs, particularly favoring young people and women. Catherine Gombe shed some light on this.
The Arab Republic of Mauritania and the Kingdom of Spain share the objective of adopting a new approach to resolving the migration crisis towards the European continent. Located at the heart of the migratory routes from West Africa to Spain, Mauritania is committed to a stronger partnership for circular migration. The two countries want to establish a secure migration system. I am counting very much on the personal commitment of His Excellency Pedro Sanchez to facilitate the legal migration of Mauritanian citizens to Spain and Europe, to promote structural migration in favor of young Mauritanians, and to exempt official national passports for Schengen visas. Spain has seen a 66% increase in migrant arrivals since January 2024, mainly from illegal immigration. The Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez, on a tour of Mauritania, Gambia, and Senegal from August 27 to 29, 2024, is proposing an opening to African candidates for exile. The head of government and his African partners signed memorandums of understanding to set up a concerted framework for a regular entry into Spain based on labor's need, a migration format that is particularly favorable to young people and women.
The present and the future of Africa, its prosperity, its security, and its progress towards truly inclusive and sustainable development constitute a strategic interest for Spain. Africa deserves a role aligned with its demographic and political wave. Spain, my country, wants to give a new impetus to our relationship with Africa. We will formally launch a new strategy for our relations with Africa in the coming weeks. Western Africa and the Sahel will be considered a priority region.
In West Africa and in the Sahel in particular, insecurity linked to terrorism and climate change are causing major population movements. More than 9 million people in the sub-region are refugees or internally displaced persons. In order to improve their inclusion, Senegal and Spain agreed to the need to increase the skills of African human capital in areas such as digital technology, education, and health.
Les investisseurs espagnols, Monsieur le Premier ministre, je vous l'ai dit, sont les bienvenus.
Mr. Prime Minister, Spanish investors are very welcome. I strongly encourage your contribution to achieving our cooperation objectives. With regard to migration, we are concerned about the mass departures from the Senegalese coast with Spain as their destination. The Senegalese government's objective is to develop projects aimed at keeping would-be illegal migrants in their homeland and to promote safe and orderly migration.
Dans leur terroir, et d'autre part, de promouvoir une migration sûre et ordonnée.
In the first 5 months of 2024, more than 5,000 migrants lost their lives trying to reach Spain by sea from Africa. Since the toughening of the fight against illegal migration in North Africa, the Spanish archipelago of the Canary Islands has become a favorite destination for migrants heading from Europe and America. As of June 30, 2024, 19,000 migrants had reached the Canary Islands, about 297 boats compared with 7,000 abroad and 150 boats during the same period in 2023, according to Spanish government.
The 4th edition of the African Education Fair will be held from the 15th to the 22nd of September 2024 in Yaoundé, Cameroon.
organized by the Association Jeunesse Unie et Solidaire d'Afrique in collaboration with the Ministry of Youth and Civic Education and the Ministry of Basic Education. This major celebration, known as the Mass of Education in Africa, will bring together 200 exhibitors and 1,000 visitors from the four corners of the world who will have the opportunity to make themselves better known, forge lasting relationships, and publicize their offers and services. The African Education Fair is dedicated to the socio-economic integration of young people, held for all, and the promotion of an entrepreneurial culture as a factor in development. Under the theme, The Challenge of Made in Africa, Structuring and Consolidating Ecosystems for the Affirmation of African Industries, the third edition of the Summer University for SMEs will be held in Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire on the 9th and 10th of September 2024. The event will bring together a wide range of participants, including donors and technical partners, private sector organizations, ECOWAS, banks and investment funds, startups, managers and expert consultants, with the aim of improving the visibility and competitiveness of African SMEs and SMIs. Since its creation in 2022, the Summer University for SMEs has been committed to supporting SMEs in their growth and success. From the 8th to the 9th of October 2024, Kigali, the capital of Rwanda, will host the first African Artificial Intelligence Summit under the theme AI and Africa's Demographic Dividend, Reimagining Economic Opportunities for Africa's Workforce. Organized by the Center for the Fourth Industrial Revolution, Rwanda, in partnership with the World Economic Forum, the two-day event will bring together high-level government officials, industry pioneers, startup innovators, investors, representatives of multilateral organizations, civil society advocates, and academic experts. Discussions will focus on key areas such as workforce development, infrastructure readiness, data equity, developing inclusive AI models, entrepreneurship, and governance.
On the occasion of the 5th Ordinary Session of the African Union Specialized Technical Committee on Social Development, Labor and Employment, which was held from August 1st to 2nd, 2024 in Addis Ababa in Ethiopia, the Chadian Abdoulaye Mbodou Mbami was elected president of this institution. According to the Chadian authorities, this election is the result of the work accomplished at the national level by the Minister of Civil Service and National Consultation. Abdoulaye Mbodou Mbami makes it a priority to strengthen the performance of the civil service and make employment more accessible. His profile with Marie Rafaela Ntolo.
Chairman of the Specialized Technical Committee on Social Development, Labor and Employment of the African Union since August 2024, Abdoulaye Mbodou Mbami is the Minister of Civil Service and Social Dialogue of Chad. He was appointed by his peers for a 2-year term during the 5th session of ministers of this committee. He is committed to ensuring throughout his mandate with the African Union, the strengthening of social development, the promotion of decent work, and the promotion of employment on the African continent.
La 5e session du comité technique et spécialisé.
The 5th session of the Technical and Specialized Committee for Social Development, Work and Employment gave us a new opportunity to reaffirm our commitment within the CTS, which translated into open discussions on crucial issues characterized by a spirit of harmony and consensus. Let us therefore ensure that the resolution of the CTS recommendations are implemented effectively and efficiently.
De manière efficace et efficiente.
According to the International Labour Organization World Employment and Social Outlook, from 2019 to 2023, the average unemployment rate in sub-Saharan Africa increased from 5.9% to 5.8%, affecting a total of 27 million people. According to the Labour Organization, the reasons for unemployment in Africa are poverty, insecurity, brain drain, and social and political unrest. I would like to emphasize that the social economy is inclusive and important for long-term viability and sustainability at the national level. Therefore, the involvement of the government and the approach of the whole of society are essential to carry out the social and solidarity economy agenda. For Abdoulaye Mbodou Mbami, the most urgent thing to do is to get to work to make the civil service modern, efficient and accessible to users. The leader also intends to promote work and employment both at the continental and international level. We cannot talk about sustainable development without improving the living conditions of people in Africa and without political will. Member states are therefore invited to demonstrate political will by developing legal frameworks. Note that the CTS DSTE is a tripartite body of the African Union bringing together ministers responsible, labor and employment, as well as organizations accredited by the governments of member states.
We have come to the end of this edition of the African Union Journal. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching and stay tuned for more programs on Africa 24 English.
On Africa 24 English, the African Union Journal is presented to you by Afrex Bank.